And your favorite term resurfaced again, chargering.
Yes.
And for fans who don't know, chargering is if something can go wrong with the Chargers, they can flip a win into a loss, and they continue to do it. And here they lose 36-34 to the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, a game in which they forfeited the lead 4 different times in the game and then eventually lost it. It was bombs away. There were a total of 7 different lead changes in the game. It was a defensive disaster. And the last time I checked, Brandon Staley's resume when he was hired as the Chargers coach coming from the Rams was his ability as a defensive guru. Haven't seen much of that at all. Tua Tagovailoa, 466 yards.
Wow.
Under center, out of the shotgun, ball out of there quick. Tyreek Hill, typical Tyreek Hill, 11 catches, 215 yards, and a bunch of TDs. Miami had 536 yards in offense. On the defensive side of the football, J.C. Jackson, the high-priced free agent cornerback who came from New England, played poorly last year, then got hurt, went through the rehab, came back in preseason, all this bravado, I'm healthy, I'm back, I'm going to be who I used to be. He gave up receptions of 35, 35, and 40 yards, a bad pass interference penalty at the end of the first half on a meaningless pass that was overthrown, and then he picks off an errant pass in the end zone, and instead of kneeling down to crush the rally, tries to run the sucker out, gets knocked out of bounds at the 5-yard line. Chargers bad field position, can't move the football, and Miami scores off that next possession. J.C. Jackson just has been a massive disappointment, and I will tell you, somebody needs to ask the question, massive mistake, because I sure haven't seen anything from him. Last year, a young cornerback, Michael Davis, had been there a couple of years, thought made a big jump in terms of consistency. They ran all over him yesterday. He gave up 7 receptions in that game. Miami, 19 plays of plus 10 yards. Miami, 8 pass plays of plus 20. Every time I looked up, guys were running open. It was amazing, the blown coverages, the inability to stay with those guys. And not to be outdone, the linebackers gave up 6 pass completions. Tua, 46 drops in the pocket to throw. Got touched once. One time.
Once.
No sacks. 3 hits.
Wow.
Hardly, again, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack still on the team?
Yeah, you kind of wonder.
There we go. Justin Herbert threw for 226, a touchdown, but a terrible grounding penalty. Obviously, the offensive line ran block really well. I mean, Austin Eckler ran for $117. Joshua Kelly came off the bench, ran for 91. Charger offense kept Miami's defense on the field for 76 snaps, and yet they lost the game. The Bolts did. I was just an atrocious loss, and I'm impressed with Brandon Staley, but I'm just starting to wonder, because this is the 3rd year, John, we've seen this junk. Is this the right guy to be the Chargers head coach? Where's the defense that was stapled to the front of his resume about how good he was going to be? Because we have not seen any of it. And this is a game, granted, Tua's got firepower and Tua's down the field. This is a game they should have won, had to win, could have won, did not win. And now they got to go on the road to go play Tennessee. Response.
The J.C. Jackson penalty at the end of the first half was horrible, and there was no point in shoving him. And that gave them the PI, and then they were set up for field goal position with no time left. I mean, if that doesn't happen, the Chargers win. And there's a lot of other cases where if that doesn't happen, the Chargers win. So it's just typical Spanos Chargers curse. It just keeps happening, and it's comical. But, I'll tell you what, man, Tyreek Hill, that dude is fast. And boy, can he make plays for a little guy. And, Tua is impressive, and the fact that he barely got touched, they must have made, Miami must have really made some changes in the way they structured their offensive line to protect him.
Well, they also had Tua spend a chunk of the summer with Michael Vick. And we talked about this prior. that the sales pitch was get the ball out. So they went to a much quicker thing. They also ran some formations I'd never seen before. Usually teams are at the line of scrimmage and they'll motion guys and the defense will respond. What Miami did was they sat there in a 3-point stance, and a split second before the ball was snapped, they put a guy in motion, which made the Charger defense stutter, wait, have to look and react. And bingo, Tyreek and those guys Waddle were off the line of scrimmage. And those guys were running to open seams, and the Chargers just never reacted. There's only so many pass routes you can run. And these guys have played a lot, and I look at a lot of video. You can't tell me that these are strange pass packages, slants and crossing patterns and outs. Everybody runs that stuff. By this point in time, that secondary should be able to identify how we're going to cover it, and they didn't. And I hugely question the intellect, the football intelligence of J.C. Jackson, because he's done so many stupid things in the 4 or 5 games he played last year before he got hurt, and what we just saw on opening day.
Well, Lee, I have a question for you. So at the very end of the game, when they missed the extra point and it was looking like there was an opportunity, they just need a field goal to win, the offensive line just collapsed, and Herbert had no chance. Well, what happened there?
They ran delayed blitzes. Vic Fangio does not have a history of blitzing. The defensive coordinator of Miami was at Denver. He's got a great track reputation. He doesn't send guys. He's not a crazy man. But what they did was they had their defensive front line up against the Chargers' offensive line. And the Chargers said, okay, pre-snap read, this is who we're blocking, this is who we're doubling, etc. But what they did was, as the ball was snapped, they sent a safety or they sent a linebacker through a gap. And this is probably coming from film study. If we line up our nose tackle a certain way at a certain angle, the Chargers will probably double them. And they kept doing that during the course of the game, I'm sure. All of a sudden, Fangio says, okay, we're going to line up again. The center and the guard are going to double on that nose tackle, and there will be a gap. Here comes that linebacker right through the gap on a delayed blitz, and he comes unblocked. And he was in the face of Justin Herbert just like that. I swear, this is why they study video till their eyes water, is you look for trends, you look for trends, you look for trends. I swear that's what happened. Fangio said, we're going to show them this formation. They've seen it during the game. They're going to block it a certain way. And now we're going to add an inside safety coming on a delay blitz. And with 2 sacks in 3 snaps, game over. Chargering.
Totally. It's absolutely true.
Okay, we go